Yo, Brawlers, this is your man, Glass Chin, and you're watching Glass Chin's Boxing. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Yo, Brawlers, massive thank you for your continued support of this channel. I should be hitting the 200,000 views milestone this week, so much appreciated. Right, Trevor Bryan is defending his WBA regular title against Daniel Dubois this weekend in the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino, Florida. I know the WBA gets a lot of stick for having two world titles, but I will refer to Bryan as the heavyweight champion of the world in this video. Fans of boxing tend to pick and choose when the regular title is relevant, like when Anthony Joshua's fan base and management referred to Alexander Povetkin as a former world champion, or when Canelo's fan base boasted that he was a freeweight world champion after defeating Rocky Fielding for the WBA regular super middleweight title. What's the bet in Brawlers? That if Daniel Dubois wins, that Eddie Hearn dismisses him as a real world champion. But seeing as he's just offered Lucas Browne a deal to fight on the Australia card, that he talks about Browne as being an ex-former world champion. Boxing, politics and propaganda at its finest. So yes, Brawlers, Bryan has kind of become a little bit of a running joke with his protection at the hands of Don King. But we have to be fair right across the board, and he does hold a legitimate world title. Well, whether you see it as legit or not, it technically is. I've been watching a lot of videos and reading the comments in the lead up to this fight, and the general consensus seems to be that this fight will be a complete walkover by Daniel Dubois and he will win in the early rounds by stoppage. But to be honest, Brawlers, I'm a little torn on this one. At first glance I would say Dubois in 5 rounds or less, but really neither fighter has beat anyone of any real note. Bryan's best wins were a blown up cruiserweight in BJ Flores and an ex-WBC heavyweight champion in Bermane Stiverne. At the time of that fight, Stiverne hadn't won a fight in 6 years. He was a last-minute replacement for Emmanuel Charr. He was scheduled to fight on the undercard, but had been out of the ring for 2 years, was rusty and clearly past his sell-by date. To be fair, Stiverne actually put on a good showing in that fight, but was that down to Bryan being limited and out of shape himself? I'll let you decide, Brawlers. If we're looking at Dubois' best wins, there isn't a lot of substance on his record either. Fujimoto and Dinu were world ranked, but neither guy had ever done anything to get into the world rankings and shouldn't have been there. They didn't deserve it. Tete came in undefeated at 19-0, but was a complete embarrassment. Nathan Gorman was a good win at domestic level, but let's just say Dubois isn't even proven at European level yet, let alone at world level. Even in earlier fights, Dubois struggled with an old Kevin Johnson, got into a war with the limited Richard Lartey. But what's really surprising to me is that he was out-jabbed by Joe Joyce. I fully expected Joe Joyce to break Dubois down and win that fight by stoppage, but I wasn't expecting Joyce to outthink Dubois. I didn't understand how Dubois went into that fight as the favourite. Frank Warren has never been afraid to match his fighters hard, especially when they're fighting in-house, but that was a puzzling fight to make at that point. Dubois, in my opinion, was at least 2 years and 5, maybe 6 fights away from Joyce's level. Having said that, Brawlers, the fight was very close on the cards, and Dubois did look good in that fight. He put on a good performance and might have won if it wasn't for the injury. Right, just before I do my prediction, I just want to talk about the heavyweight bout on the undercard. Am I the only one who is excited for the alias Mack Truck Daiquiri Scott versus Jonathan Gildry? Scott is a bit of a novelty, I guess, a Butterbean style fighter if you will, but don't let looks fool you guys. The boy can fight. Gildry, even though he's small at 5'11", he was able to give Bryan some tough competitive rounds. He's now ranked 88th in the world on BoxRec, so that's a decent step up for the 23-year-old 7-0 novice Scott, who just had a 10-round split decision win over Ahmed Hefny last time out, although Scott came in at a career high £276 for that fight. So that may have been why he was a little bit flat in that performance, but respect to where it's due, he was able to go the 10-round distance, when his previous 6 fights were over in a flash with 5 first-round knockouts and 1 second-round knockout. So they are challenging Scott early, and this fight should be very competitive. If he can blast Gildry out, then that makes Trevor Bryan look bad, as he really did struggle with Gildry and almost lost that fight. Right, Brawlers, time for my prediction. I really don't think this fight is as one-sided as the general public are making out. I think there's a good chance that Bryan will drag Dubois into deep waters and drown him. This fight to me boils down to 2 key factors. First, what kind of shape is Trevor Bryan in? Bryan has looked terrible and out of shape in his most recent fights, but found a way to win. Back when he used to be in shape, he did show a lot of skill and ring smarts. I believe his heart and survival and overall ring smarts are better than Daniel Dubois'. I think it would be a mistake for Dubois to try and force the stoppage early. Bryan showed a great chin against Verme, but doesn't really have that many miles on the clock for an 11-year pro veteran. As I said earlier, Dubois lost the battle of the jabs against Joyce, and Bryan does have a great jab when he uses it to full effect. So the first 3 rounds may be very cagey with both fighters feeling each other out. I do expect Dubois to start pulling away in the mid-rounds, between 4 and 6, and start breaking Bryan down and start banking rounds. I think there's a good chance that Dubois will get the stoppage win, but I wouldn't be surprised if Bryan weathers the storm and goes the full 12. Dubois himself might fade a little bit down the stretch. If the knockout comes, I'll say around the 7th or 8th round. I just think it's a big ask for Dubois to stop him in the first few rounds like most are predicting. Also, you have to factor in Shane McGuigan as Dubois' new trainer. He's helped Lawrence Okolie work on using his range to full effect, and he's a lot more relaxed to fight because of it. I don't think they will be looking for an early stoppage. I think they will want Dubois to grow into the fight and start banking rounds early, slowly chopping away at the tree. Then start piling on the pressure and landing heavier leather in the mid-rounds. So the 2 key factors for me is Bryan in shape and how much of a difference has Shane McGuigan made to Daniel Dubois? Heavyweight boxing royalty Larry Holmes has been praising Bryan's work in the gym this week. So Dubois may be in trouble, brawlers. I also think McGuigan needs to help Dubois not just with his physical strengths, but also work on his ring IQ, as I do think Bryan has the advantage in that area and may spoil and make the fight hard for Dubois to land clean on him. So, final prediction, brawlers, I have to pick the size, youth and power of Dubois. Going by their most recent fights, Dubois has looked a better fighter. He's fitter and stronger. Even in his defeat to Joe Joyce, Dubois looked better than Bryan did against Gildry. I nearly got his name wrong then. Anyway, final prediction. I so want to be biased and just back our man to get the early demolition job done, but to be honest, brawlers, I don't see Dubois doing it against a schooled veteran like Bryan. I might even go outside the box and pick Dubois on points. Something tells me that Bryan may find a way to survive the distance. If I had to pick a knockout round for Dubois, I'd say 7 or 8. Screw it, let's be confident, brawlers. I'm going with Dubois by stoppage in round 7, but secretly betting on points if the odds are right. Anyway, prediction aside, I'm buzzing for this fight and I do think it's competitive. I will be gripped come fight night. Will Trevor Bryan bend or break, brawlers? Can he take that heat? To be fair, Bryan is the undefeated fighter going into this fight. He's slightly more experienced. He knows that Dubois has already quit in one fight. Will Bryan have a mental edge there going into this fight? Does Dubois feel like he has something to prove? Will he be able to stay composed and box to a game plan with that kind of pressure on his shoulders? Will Dubois get a fair shake if it goes to the scorecards being away from home? We've seen a lot of dodgy scorecards in the UK of late, so that's one to think about. There's a lot of factors going into this fight that makes it an intriguing matchup. If Bryan pulls it off and beats Dubois, defending his title for the second time, do you brawlers think he has earned a shot at one of the big boys, whether it's Fury, Usyk or Joshua? Should he try and defend against one of the American heavyweights with the PBC, either ex-champions Deontay Wilder or Charles Martin maybe? Great Britain already has a world champion in Tyson Fury. If Dubois pulls the win off, it may be a long time until America gets another shot at the heavyweight world title. With me personally only giving Jared Anderson out of the current crop of heavyweights any chance of getting to the world title level. Anyway, I'm rambling on a little bit, so what's your thoughts on this fight, brawlers? Let me know who you're picking in the comments section and I'll put a poll up on my community page. I'll do a post-fight video on Monday night, so stay tuned for that one, brawlers. And as always, don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video.